Data center demand soars another 250%. MarketBeat's Thomas Hughes is here to break down the surge in demand for data centers and shares 5 stocks that are all poised to benefit from this big growth story that we've seen. Thomas, I'm really excited to get this started because this first stock is why we're doing this video right now. Let's talk about that Applied Digital earnings report.
Right. Applied Digital blew it out of the water. Revenue grew 250%, totally driven by the data center hosting business. And that's because its first building and its first project went online earlier this year, affirming its robust outlook, totally, taking the market by surprise, totally reflected in the stock price action following the release. The stock jumped 10%, affirming that support level we saw earlier in the year, really pointing to a robust rebound this year.
Let's talk about some of the overall maybe industry indicators that came out in this earnings report. What does this say about other data center stocks and really the whole industry of data centers and that infrastructure?
Well, it just affirms for everyone that the boost in demand that we were being forecasted with last year is being affirmed. So into last year, we were some uncertainty. The market pulled back because we weren't sure that people were really going to follow through with all this spending. This result showed that, yes, they are, and it's actually stronger than what we thought it was going to be. And as far as this company goes, they also signed another new contract, which affirms its second stage project, which is just about sold out now. So we're looking at really, really high level growth for the next few years, 5 to 10 years for this company and for the industry at large.
And this is such an interesting growth story to see that the demand keeps soaring above all expectations. This is a stock that, just last year, just a few months ago, was below $5. I think it was around a $2 mark at some point in 2025. And so to see that this stock is growing so quickly and that the demand is there, I really am curious how quickly some of those analyst upgrades are starting to catch on to what the future could hold for this company.
Well, the analyst upgrades are really driving the stock price. I mean, the results are driving sentiment, but the analyst revision trend is driving the price. Right now, the consensus is kind of lagging the stock price, but it's up significantly over the last year, more than 100%, really providing support for the market. And that high end is leading us to new highs.
Applied Digital is a big name we've talked about here on the channel a long time. If you want a more in-depth look at Applied Digital and why so many analysts are bullish on the future, make sure to check out this free special report on Applied Digital's future and why this could be just the beginning for this stock. You can scan the QR code or click the link in the description to read, again, a more in-depth article on MarketBeat.com all about Applied Digital and its future. Thomas, the rest of this list today, you have 4 other names for us that's really a comparison on how they might differ from what Applied Digital is offering in the data center space and which of these 5 data center companies are really set up to do well in the future. And I want you to stick around to the end. The last name on this list is a familiar name we've talked about plenty of times before, but you're going to make a case why it's maybe the least likely to succeed on this list of data center stocks out there. So stick around for that last one that we're going to talk about in a minute. For now, Thomas, let's get to the second name you have for us on data centers that are seeing a lot of demand right now.
That's Nebius. To me, they are a direct competitor, kind of adjacent to Applied Digital. The big difference is that they're in Europe versus in America. So to me, these two companies are in the same space, doing the same thing in different regions. So Nebius could easily produce similar results, similar outlook, and when it reports, drive similar stock price action for its market.
And Nebius is definitely a name that we have watched on the channel too for a while. And it has a similar chart to Applied Digital where we saw really those highs reached a few months ago. And for the last 3 months, the stock's kind of been dwindling down. But just at the start of the year here, we saw a surge in all of these AI data center plays. Nebius, no exclusion. I think this one's up over 13%. Let's talk about how much further Nebius could grow. Do we see it getting back to those all-time highs anytime soon?
Based on the analyst trends, I would say yes. The stock price is certainly tracking in alignment with Applied Digital, and the analyst trends are very bullish, rated as a high conviction buy with potential for 45% upside by the end of the year.
Wow. Yeah, that's a lot of upside still ahead for this one. And it's trading below that consensus price target right now, which is a little different from what Applied Digital is. Is that just because there's more coverage for Nebius?
I think that's mostly because there's a little bit more information for Applied Digital. Nebius is still more of a long shot play, although they are really executing well on their strategy.
All right, let's talk a little bit more about how these two companies are alike and different. I mean, are they really the exact same business model, or is there a little little bit different in what they're doing?
Well, when it comes to these tech companies, none are exactly the same because they take different approaches to what they do and their platforms offer different kinds of services. But that being said, both companies own their own data centers. Both provide a platform for AI, and both are listed as GPU as a service companies, which makes them to me competitors and peas in a pod.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see Nebius's next earnings report as well to see if their revenue has a similar story to Applied Digital. And I think that could be another catalyst potentially for this whole sector of stocks we're about to talk about. That's the second stock on the list. Let's get to that third company that you're covering.
Yeah, that third company is Core Scientific, also fairly well positioned, but I think not quite as well positioned as these other names because of what it offers. Core Scientific does own data centers. It does have GPU as a service as part of its business model, but it doesn't have a platform. So it's really part of AI infrastructure and less so much as GPU or AI as a service, which is what the other companies are doing.
I think this one's interesting simply because it's a name we have not heard about very much at all in this show. All of the five names you're talking about today, other than this one, have popped up a lot of as comments from viewers. It's popped up at our MarketBeat Monday shows. And we've done videos on all of these ones except this name. Why is this a name not getting as much attention?
Right. So this company isn't getting quite the attention that the other companies were because it was expected to have a merger with CoreWeave that was terminated late last year. And that's kind of had an impact on market sentiment.
Interesting. Do you think that that actually speaks to potential problems in the company, or do you think that that's just a fact of doing business? I mean, do you think it's a red flag that investors should pay attention to?
I don't know that it's a red flag. It's probably just the way that the industry is evolving. It will be interesting to see what Core Scientific does over the coming year. They could potentially produce a catalyst for themselves with an acquisition or with the development of a platform or some other move that they're not currently making.
Well, let's talk about how Core Scientific differs from what Applied Digital or even Nebius offers.
Well, right. So it's got the data centers and it's got the GPU as a service aspect, but it doesn't have the platform. So for companies that are looking for more than just infrastructure, they're going to have to go somewhere else.
All right, so they're more kind of like the landlord, the real estate agent, is that right?
They own the apartment building. Sure.
All right. Well, I guess I must be interested in real estate ownership because this is the name I want to add to Bridget's buys watch list. I think I've added Nebius to this list already. That was my first stock that I added onto Bridget's buys watch list. I'm amazed I haven't added Applied Digital yet. We've talked about it plenty of times. It is one of the companies I'm personally more interested in. But just because we had such a big spike after this earnings report, I'm not ready to add it to the watch list right now, even though I do think it has strong potential to still have a lot of upside from where it trades today. I want to add Core Scientific to my watch list. It seems like a much riskier play, but I'm curious about that because it's a name I haven't heard of yet. It's a stock I haven't looked into yet, and analysts seem to be bullish on it as well. So I'm adding this one to the watch list. I might wish I could take that back in a little bit. We'll find out, but it's good to follow the progress on a new name we haven't heard of yet. If you haven't checked out Bridget's buys watch lists yet, make sure to scan the QR code or click the link in the description to check out what is going on with all the stocks we talk about on this channel. Now, we've got two other names to talk about, and these are familiar names in the data center space, but you are not quite as bullish on both of these, especially the last one. Let's talk about the next name on the list of data center stocks that could benefit from all of this increased demand.
Right. That's Iron Limited. Iron Limited is a vertically integrated data center operator. They own their own real estate. They own their own data centers. They do GPU as a service, but similar to Core Scientific, they don't really have an awesome platform to help and assist with AI development. And I think that's where they're lacking. Other than that, they are seeing pretty solid demand. And they have another attraction being 100% powered by green and renewable energy. So you can expect that these big data center companies, these big AI companies, the hyperscalers that are trying to expand their AI capabilities also need to stay green. So for this business, that's an attraction for them. And I think that will help them long-term help sustain my leadership position.
That really is an indicator that kind of sets this company apart from the rest. And we know that energy is such a big part of the data center story.
Right.
Let's talk about IREN a little bit. I feel like it started out the same way Applied Digital did, which is started out kind of more as a Bitcoin mining farm that really pivoted, right? Is that one similarity between these two?
Yes, Iron totally started as a Bitcoin mining company, and like so many of them, they're making that pivot to AI because it's a high growth industry. It makes money, and there's a long, robust growth outlook.
Yeah, let's talk about the demand a little bit more when it comes to all of these companies. Even though you're saying IREN maybe has a little less potential than Applied Digital, I do think that there's seems to be enough demand that do you think all of these companies we're talking about today have a chance to grow just because there's so much demand for that pie?
Oh, absolutely. We're not talking about apples and oranges here. We're talking about a good apple and a better apple. So within this industry, it's growing robustly. It's just a matter of which one is going to grow the most robustly, who has the best positioning, where are we going to expect to see the most outperformance and the most analyst and institutional interest.
Yeah, I think that's a great analogy that which is a good apple and a better apple. And
Right.
so that kind of brings us to the last stock to talk about. It's the bottom of your list. It's a very popular name that went crazy this year, but it makes the bottom of your list for data centers. Why is that?
So this company, similar to the others, is involved with GPU as a service, operates a platform for AI, but it does not own its own data centers. To me, that leaves it vulnerable to expansion and disruption. It is, in fact, a customer of some of these other companies that we have been talking about. So for it, it's got a business, it's got a platform, it's got a robust growth outlook, but it might also be hampered by these same demand and supply constraints that the industry is experiencing as a whole. So the catalyst for this one is the establishment and the advancement of its own data center network, which is underway, but they have a latecomer disadvantage, and they will be struggling this year, I think, to gain share while these other companies are going to be outperforming.
All right, let's talk about what this company is. And I think when viewers hear it, might be a little surprising because this has been an NVIDIA darling, right?
It is, and that's CoreWeave. And I will not be surprised to have anyone in the comments come back to me and tell me how wrong I am. I welcome those comments, and we can talk about it in the next video.
I think those comments will come. And in fact, we had a contrary view on CoreWeave from another analyst who was on the show just a couple weeks ago. Make sure to watch that video here if you want to hear a bullish case for CoreWeave's future.